Welcome, all my fellow Redskin brethren and sister. It's news that's nightly about the Redskins. Welcome to the Redskins Nightly News. I, of course, am your set man, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Let's get to tonight's lead story. So, I just want to ask the question that I think all Redskins fans have on their mind at this point of the season. Why the hell is Bruce Allen still here? Uh, you look around the league and either you're getting a vote of confidence right now or you're being fired right now. This isn't the time of season for you to just be mum and quiet. We already know what's going on in Dallas. If Jason Garrett doesn't get the Cowboys to the Super Bowl, essentially, he's fired, right? Jerry Jones hasn't come out and said it, but he hasn't given him a vote of confidence either. But we already know what he wants to do, okay? We saw in Jacksonville yesterday them get rid of their vice president of order of operations and really the guy that was running the entire show in Tom Coughlin because he was becoming too hard to deal with. His agents didn't want to deal with him. There was a grievance filed by their running back, Leonard Fournette, that the NFLPA filed on behalf of Fournette that he actually won, that waived $77,000 worth of fines that had been levied against him by Coughlin, who is a hard ass, a notorious hard ass. And so Shad Khan, the owner of the Jacksonville Jaguars, said, okay, I see where this is going. I understand the dynamic here. He's got to go. And so he was relieved of his duties yesterday. All right. We saw Ron Rivera fired. If you're going to find a new head coach, go ahead and get a jump start on it. You know, I didn't necessarily agree with the firing of Ron Rivera, but I understand the logic behind it. If you're going to find or look for a new coach or a new GM or whatever the case may be, you might want to get that process started like now. And I'm more for firing a GM before the season's done than an actual head coach, because at this point of the season, look, GMs aren't doing all that much. Yeah, you might have an injury or two there on your roster there, and you need to go out and find guys. Look, you can lean on your pro scout, your player of pro scouting personnel to do that. You know, go find you a guy around the league that can come in and help you, like the Redskins just did, okay? They don't want Josh Norman playing. We'll talk about that a little bit later on at all. They went out and signed 2 or 3 more corners that they just brought in, and those guys are getting schemed up and coached up to play on Sunday, as if we don't have guys that are able-bodied on the roster that can perform. So they don't want Josh Norman on the field, as evident over the last couple of weeks. You saw what happened when he finally did get in on Sunday. They don't want this guy anywhere near the field, yet they continue to make him active. There are theories out there floating around as to why. I may get into them tonight. I may not. I really don't care. That's why I haven't talked about the Josh Norman situation all that much, because honestly, I don't give a damn. I don't care. But the real question begs, why the hell is Bruce still here? I contend that he's not going anywhere in the first place. That's what I've said all offseason. That's what I've said all season long. And that's what I've continued to run with. That, you know, despite everyone telling me, hey, it's happening, it's imminent, it's going down, I still don't think it's happening until it actually happens. And I saw a picture from JP Finley today of Bruce Allen on the practice field with D'Angelo Hall. I don't want to read much into that. Anytime we see a picture of anybody not named Bruce or Dan at Redskins practice, game, facility, anything, we start speculating. I'm not going to play that game, but D'Angelo was in attendance. Look, he's an ex-Redskin. If he wants to attend practice, he lives in the area. He's more than capable of doing so, and he's more than welcome to, okay? They're not going to stop D'Angelo from coming in. He didn't leave on bad terms. Look, everybody likes D'Angelo Hall. He's a good dude. Love listening to him talk. And so there's no secret that he said he would love to be in the Redskins front office in some capacity. He would love to be a general manager in this league, not necessarily just the Redskins, but in general, he just wants to be a GM somewhere and feels like he could do an admirable job. Well, he may get an opportunity down the road. I'm not personally big on D'Angelo Hall coming back and being a GM right now for this team, because there are too many players still left on the roster that he actually played with. And he may be a guy that can be able to compartmentalize and draw that line that you have to have between business and pleasure and friends and business and all of that good stuff. He may be able to draw that line and have a clear delineation where that line begins and ends. And despite having played with this guy, calling him his brother, this, that, and the third, he may be able to say, hey, guy, we love you. You've been here a long time, but either you got to take a pay cut or you got to go. And or you got to allow us to restructure your deal or you got to go. And maybe he would be able to do that. Maybe he'd be able to put that stuff aside, but I just feel like he's too close to some of these guys that are still on the roster. Some of those guys look up to him, call him OG. Like, for instance, Quentin Dunbar calls him OG because when he was there, D'Angelo Hall was one of the guys that helped him mold and shape and form into the player that he's become now. So I wouldn't like that dynamic, but maybe he would ultimately end up being a really good GM in this league. We'll see. But Bruce is here, and he was on the field with D'Angelo on the practice field. He's still around. He's still running important business matters for this Redskins football team. I told you yesterday that he was at the off-season 2020 meetings, and he was pretty much running it where they're talking about off-season plans in terms of free agency and the draft and starting to get all of those balls rolling. Remember, the Senior Bowl is just about a month away. So they're starting preparations for all of those things, getting their ducks all in a row and lined up so that when the season's done, they can start turning their attention to matters that are going to pertain to the offseason. And he's still running a lot of these things. And my question is, why is he still here? If he's going somewhere, why is he still here? I told you that Daniel Snyder hasn't made up his mind yet. I'm not sure that Bruce is going anywhere. I think it will actually take a candidate that he strongly believes in. And first of all, if Dan is picking the coach, we still have a problem. Daniel Snyder should not be handpicking any coach. The GM should be handpicking the coach. And that GM, his name should not be Bruce Allen. So if Daniel Snyder is out picking a coach and that coach tells him, unless Bruce Allen's gone, I'm not coming in there, we still have a problem because he shouldn't be selecting the next head coach of the Washington Redskins. The GM should. And that GM shouldn't be named Bruce Allen. And that's the problem, is that I don't know if Bruce Allen is going anywhere, but the structure of this organization is all jacked up. And until it is fixed, until Daniel Snyder removes himself from the situation and says, I'm going to allow the football people to do what it is they're supposed to do. I'm going to hire a competent GM. I'm going to back off and allow him to do his job, which is hire the next head coach. I'm going to allow that head coach to hire his staff. And I'm just going to back off and allow them to do what it is they do. Until that happens, we're still going to be stuck in this malaise. We're still going to be stuck in the twilight zone of the last 20 years where we just continue to be the laughingstock of this league. And even if Bruce is gone, if Daniel Snyder is handpicking the coach, and I think that's what it's going to take for Bruce to be ousted, is for Dan to want a guy so bad, and that guy says, if Bruce Allen's there, I'm not. For that guy to say that, that's what it's going to take, I believe, for Dan to finally say, all right, Bruce, man, you got to do something. You got to resign. You got to retire. I'm going to fire you if you don't. I'd like this to end very amicably. How about you just resign, okay? I don't know how this is going to end, but right now it doesn't seem like it ends with Bruce Allen being out. It seems like he is still going about, and he should, even if he thinks he's soon to be terminated, he probably should still be going about his business yeoman-like, acting as if everything is status quo and it's just another day at Redskins Park out in Ashburn. He should be conducting business as if he's going to be here, even if he isn't. It's not his job to stop working because he knows his head is on the chopping block. Daniel Snyder either needs to end this thing or I think it's going to remain status quo. And when I say status quo, that doesn't mean you're going to see Bill Callahan remain as the head coach. But I'll tell you this much. Bill Callahan has a greater shot at remaining Redskins head coach if Bruce Allen is here. So keep that in mind as well. But my biggest question is, why the hell is he still here? Why am I still seeing pictures of him? Why is he still conducting important matters pertaining to the offseason? He shouldn't be here. Get rid of his ass. That's my thing, is when I see Jacksonville do what they did and you hear the complaints of some of the players and the NFLPA and agents who don't want to work with the Jaguars because of Tom Coughlin, and now they say, hey, we're willing to work with you guys now that you've removed the problem. And you've got Bruce Allen as one of the most untrusted GMs/team presidents in the league. There was a poll that was done in which he was the most untrusted, all right? or is that even a word, untrusted, or is it distrusted? Whatever the case may be. He was the GM that was least trusted by agents all around the league. And it could be because he's always looking to lowball you, or it's just that he's a conniving, sneaky son of a bitch. Either way, he shouldn't still be here. What are they waiting on? Make a move. All right. This is all the more reason why I think he's not going anywhere. But we will see. Anyway, let's get to in other news. Redskins defensive coordinator Greg Manusky and interim head coach Bill Callahan both stepped up to the podium today. We'll start with Manusky. I talked about this briefly. I'll expound upon it quickly. Josh Norman, they don't want him anywhere near the field. And I'm listening to different guys talk, and Kevin Sheehan, I've already mentioned him on this pod or on this show numerous times. He talked about some information or a theory he got from one of his co-workers at the Team 980, where he talked about the reason Josh Norman continues to be on the field is that there's a clause in his contract that if he is active for every game, then an escalator bonus kicks into his contract. And so there is some importance to him continuing to be active. And I don't know why the Redskins feel the need to make sure that this guy gets every single cent that he's owed if he's on the roster, active game day roster. Again, maybe there's an agreement there. Hey, look, Josh, if you just take this L that we're giving you like a man, keep your mouth shut, don't make a scene, we'll make sure you're active every week, and we'll make sure you get your bread, and we can part ways mutually at the end of the season and let bygones be bygones. Maybe that's the agreement that they have. You know, you look around the league and you got guys spouting off at the mouth, you know, talking about how dissatisfied they are with their organization and how they won out and this, that, and the third, and you're hearing reports. None of that is coming out of Washington with Josh Norman. And maybe the reason that is because we know Josh has been an outspoken guy his entire career. He's never been afraid to say what he wants to say, and he's never been one to hold his tongue. And if they stick a mic in his face and he's unhappy, you never know. He might go off on one of these DJ Swearinger type routes or rants, but he hasn't done that. Maybe there's a reason why he hasn't done that. Maybe because there's an agreement behind closed doors between him and the Redskins organization that, hey, look, bro, we're going away from you. We're going to play a bunch of younger guys. There are going to be questions that are going to be asked. We would really prefer if you just kept your mouth shut and stay mum on the entire subject matter. Let us handle it. And meanwhile, we'll do our end of the bargain, and we'll make sure you're active every week. We'll swat these questions away like flies, and we'll keep it moving. Sound like a deal? He shakes hands, and they keep it moving. So that's the theory that's floating on out around there. Look, I could care less, honestly. But the thing that's funny to me is we're bringing in all these guys that are not a part of the future. All these guys that are just kind of floating out there on the streets. Like Danny Johnson, I have no problems with Danny Johnson playing, because Danny Johnson is a guy that we wanted to take a look at and a guy that could potentially be on this roster next year. I actually felt the same way about Simeon Thomas until he got suspended. He's a long, active, young corner that I thought could potentially have a shot to be on this roster next year. And so I'm all for those types of guys getting opportunities. But when you're snatching guys up off the street like Kayvon Webster in week 16, who has absolutely zero chance of being on this roster next year, it makes you wonder just how bad you don't want to put Josh Norman on the field. It's just crazy. But to take it a step further, if you're willing to go out and get guys off the street so that Josh doesn't have to play, but you're keeping him active on game days, there are other guys at other positions, like a Darvin Kidsey, for example, that could use that roster spot. And that's the problem that everyone else has. Again, I don't care. I really don't care. I really don't. So I'm not going to make this a problem and an issue that I want to bring to you guys. But nonetheless, you listen to Manusky, he's getting these guys ready. They literally signed 2 days ago, and he's getting them ready to play this week. Why? It's just crazy to me. Anyway, it's just another example of that they don't want Josh Norman anywhere near the field. He talked about the difference between the first time we played the Giants and this time. And I love the way Manusky tries to minimize the defense's faults and their flaws. Like last week, there was a question posed to him about the run defense and how do you shore it up, because you got an elite back in Saquon Barkley coming to town. And remember, the last time he came to town, he destroyed the Redskins, damn near had 200 yards rushing, and I think he had over 100 in the first half of the game. Remember, the game was like 36-0 at halftime, and Saquon Barkley had a massive run early in the second quarter of that game. Might even been third quarter of the game. Whatever. He killed us the last time. Remember, we shut him down the first game. We played them in New York last year. And then he came to Washington and torched us. And so a question was asked, hey, Eagles had a nice run day on you. How do you stop that from happening versus the Giants? And he tried to minimize what happened last week. Well, yeah, you got that big 56-yard run, especially on the third down, had a chance to get off the field. Bro, it wasn't just the 56-yard run, okay? They were gashing us all game long. They ran it on third down. They ran it on first down. They ran it on second down. Ran it on fourth down. They ran it whenever the hell they felt like running the football, okay? So miss me with they had that one big hit. No. All right, they ran it on third down several times, and it wasn't 3rd and 1 or 3rd and 2. It was like 3rd and 11 on the 56-yarder, and then it was 3rd and 4 another time, and it might have been 3rd and 7 another time that they decided to run it. So, hey, miss me with all the, they had one big hit. No, they had a bunch of big hits. All right, that one just happened to be the biggest of them. But nonetheless, he talked about how the Redskins need to communicate. Have we heard that before this season? Like, I'm so done with Minuski. Honestly, I'm done with him at this point. Seriously, let's just go to Bill Callahan. And so Callahan talked about the injury to Landon Collins. I didn't even know he was hurt. So he hasn't practiced all week long, and it seems like he's not going to play on Sunday against his former team. And just how much Landon Collins loves to talk about the New York Giants and wants to play against them. But doesn't sound like he's going to be able to go this game, and I don't know. Don't ask me who's going to replace him. They talked about Troy Apke, but then they also brought up the other safety that we liked in training camp that actually has gotten a little bit of run throughout the course of the season. Can't remember his name, but and then they brought up some guy from the practice squad that I have no idea who he is. So we're at that point of the season now where there's going to be a bunch of numbers running around on the football field that you may not know, and Landon Collins may not be on the field, and I didn't know he had an injury, and so we'll see what happens with him as far as him playing. He talked about Dunny and his injury, and it doesn't sound like Dunny's going to play this week either. They might as well just put him on IR if he's not going to be able to practice, and we're in week 16. At this point of the season, you're at the point now where if a guy can't go in week 16, you might as well put him on IR and forget about week 17. So it doesn't sound like Dunny's going to play either. He talked about the development of Wes Martin and how far he's come from earlier in the season when he had to get a couple of games in there because of the injury to Brandon Sheriff, and now and seeing how well he has progressed. And he kind of talked about that same kind of trajectory that he talked about with Dwayne Haskins, that, a lot of times when guys come in early, sometimes they're in over their head as they play more and they get more opportunities, and they are able to adjust to the speed of the game, and they understand what is necessary for them to take it to that next level, to produce at a high enough level to sustain an NFL career. Then you start to see the gradual growth of these players, and Wes Martin is one of those guys. They asked about him being more comfortable potentially on the right side than he was left side, because earlier when he was on the left side, which is his natural position where he played in college, was left guard, he wasn't all that good. Remember, that was part of the reason where we were like, man, what are they going to do at left guard? And we didn't think Eric Flowers was going to be as good as he was, or has been. But he seems to be really more comfortable. But some of that could be attributed to the fact that it's just later in the season. He's had a chance to kind of get his feet wet, has learned how to be a pro a bit. You grow up over a 16-game slate, and now we're going into week 15, or the 15th game, week 16 of the season. You grow up. You figure some things out. You get better. He's been coached up. So he talked about all of those things. He talked about how, this team continues to fight, and how he's proud of this team, and how they desperately want to win against an NFC East team. And so, Callahan talked about all those things. It sounds good. And unfortunately, I think he may be right this week. And speaking of which, let's transition into this game on Sunday. And what will it take for the Redskins to get a win? I really don't like this spot, man. I don't. And when I say that, normally I mean that because I think we're going to lose. I don't like this spot because I think we're going to win. I think we're the better team here. And Minuski also talked about, having to prepare for two quarterbacks because you don't know who's going to play this week. Is it going to be, Daniel Jones, a guy that's much more mobile, and we struggle with mobile quarterbacks? Or is it going to be Eli Manning, a guy that, is going to be in the pocket? We know where to find him. We know his address. We know how to find him and locate him. It's a big difference, And one guy, you can probably heat him up. And remember, we had success against Daniel Jones the first time. All right, we picked him off. Dunny picked him off twice, and he didn't look all that sharp against us. But it just turned out that Dwayne and Case Keenum, the combination of the two, looked way worse. And it produced a Giants win. But he wasn't all that great against us. And so, you can do some things to confuse a young guy. Whereas with Eli, if you don't get pressure on him and you try to bring pressure, it could get ugly. Eli's had some success against us in his career. So, we'll see what happens and what direction the Giants decide to go. I still believe it's going to be Eli Manning, but we will see. Anyway, Callahan also spoke about, it was something else that he talked about that just popped into my head when I was talking about Eli Manning, and I forgot it that quick. If it comes back to me, I'll bring it back up. But anyway, I look at this game, and I think we're the better team. I really do. I look at the Giants, and I've watched them all season. I've watched them down the stretch. They've been a lot more competitive of late, but it doesn't take away the fact that they really stink. They're a bad football team, and so are we. I'm saying that as if both teams don't come into this game at 3-11. I mean, this is truly the toilet bowl. Remember earlier in the season when we played the Dolphins and everyone made jokes and we called it the toilet bowl, and this is truly the toilet bowl because all four of the top four picks, teams that hold top four picks in the draft, are playing each other in Week 16. It's amazing. I've never seen anything like this. The Dolphins are playing the Bengals. That's picks 1 and 3. And the Giants and the Redskins square off. That's picks 2 and 4 right now. It's amazing the ineptitude on the field between those four teams. But I look at the Giants, and I just think everything that we are able to do on the football field, the Giants are incapable of limiting. I feel like Dwayne Haskins should be able to move the football against this Giants defense. I've seen plenty of teams move it against the Giants defensively. Now, they're opportunistic defense. If you make mistakes, they will take advantage of those mistakes. However, you can move the football on the Giants defensively. I think you can run it on the Giants defensively. I think you can throw it on the Giants defensively. Offensively, I do think this is the one way we can lose this football game, though. If Saquon Barkley goes off on us, and we haven't been the best at stopping the run this season, as a matter of fact, we're one of the worst teams in the league at stopping the run. That's not a news flash to anybody that's been watching this team all season long. We give it up on the ground. And, we may be good for a quarter. We may be good for a half. But eventually, one's going to pop. And with Saquon, it could be for a 73-yard touchdown. That's the problem with him is one here, -3, -2, 2, 4, and then 86. That's the problem with Saquon is you got him, and then you don't got him. And with this defense, we're one of those defenses that we're good, we're not good. And all it takes is one time for the linebackers to not get the correct fit, one time for the defensive line to not get great push off the line and off the ball, and for that guard to be able to climb up to the second level, get a piece of a backer, poor angle by the safety, and next thing you know, Saquon's off to the races, and nobody on our defense is catching Saquon Barkley from behind. Not a single one. So that's the way we can get beaten this game. If we slow Saquon Barkley down or the Giants decide to not run it enough, and we've gotten helped by teams deciding for whatever reason to stop running, i.e. the Carolina Panthers, if they somehow figure out that, throwing the football is a better option than running against our defense, great. That'll help us. But honestly speaking, if Saquon's able to get loose early and often, that's the way the Giants can beat us. They can control the clock, pace of this game. They can hit big plays with the run game. And I also think that we're a bad screen defense. I think if you time up a screen correctly, we seem to fall for the banana in the tailpipe every single time. It never ceases to amaze me how guys run up the field. They never feel nor sense screen and get back to bust it up. It's rare. We get screened pretty well. So, and the Giants are one of those teams that they don't do a half bad job at screening. And again, with Saquon out in space, things can get pretty ugly. And remember, we didn't play him the first time. He was hurt the first game. So we're going to get us a nice, healthy helping of Saquon Barkley. And I think he's the X factor. If he goes bananas and ballistic, we're probably going to lose this football game. But if we hold him relatively in check, I honestly Don't see the Redskins losing this football game. And that's why I got the Redskins winning this game 26-24. Here's how I have it playing out. Redskins scored 2 touchdowns, 4 field goals, the last of which is a walk-off game winner by Dustin Hopkins. But when I say walk-off game winner for us, that means Bill Callahan mangles the clock down the stretch and calls his final timeout with 17 seconds left, meaning that we have to kick the field goal. Then we have to actually play defense afterwards, but yet we still win the football game on a late Dustin Hopkins field goal as the Redskins win a game that we want. We want no parts of winning 26-24. It's going to be an entertaining game. We're going to realize why both of these teams are 3-11 coming into the game, because there are going to be a lot of mistakes, penalties, and such. But I think the Redskins will prevail, get their 4th win of the season, and unfortunately, it's going to drop us out of the Chase Young sweepstakes. Man, do I hope I'm wrong. Man, do I hope the Giants beat us. But I just think we're better than them. And I think that we've been playing the kind of football of late that suggests that there's no quit in this football team and that they're trying to win games and that this is one that is very gettable, and I think they get it at FedEx Field. It's unfortunate because I want nothing more than to lose this football game and get to 3-12 and have a chance to get to 3-13. And if we lose this game, we're going to get the number 2 pick in the draft. I'm confident because I think the Dolphins are going to win this week. And if the Giants beat us, both of them will leave week 16 with 4 wins. We'll remain with 3, and we'll be sitting in the driver's seat for the 2nd pick in the draft. But as I've said this, and I'll say it once more, and I'll leave you with this, we can't have nice things. We're not allowed to have nice things. And Chase Young is a really, really nice item, man. One that we're just not accustomed to having. When's the last time we had one of those types of defenders? I'll answer that question for you. His name was Sean Taylor. And if you want to go before that, LeVar Arrington. We don't get those kinds of guys very often. They don't grow on trees either, all right? We don't know what to do with that kind of product. We don't know what to do with that kind of item. And thus, he's too nice for us. We don't get nice things. The football gods never smile on us. So we're going to win this football game, much to our dismay. So that's the Redskins Nightly News for tonight. Thank you guys for joining me. We are going to be live at some point tonight. I do not know the exact time. It won't be any later than 9 o'clock, I assure you of that. Right now, I'm shooting for 8, but I've got an obligation that may bleed into the 8 o'clock hour. So anywhere from 8 to 9, I will be on live with you guys. So be on the lookout for that bolo, okay? Be on the lookout for the Redskins report at some point tonight. I'm going to open up phone lines, allow you guys to chime in. I'm shooting for 8. If it's not 8, definitely by 9, no later than 9 o'clock tonight. So be on the lookout for that. I'm your man, Louie T, signing off. Remember, we're Skins fans, and we got skin in the game. Why? Because we're Skins fans for life. I'm your man, Louie T, signing off. I thank you guys for joining me. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to the Louie T Network for more great content, and also check out the Louie T Network podcast. Brand new episode coming your way tomorrow. I will see you guys tomorrow. Speaking of which, or tonight, excuse me. Have a good one. Take care. Hope to see you a little bit later on for the Redskins report.
Louie T Network.